No David today. Just me, baby. Oh, man. You know, we ordered some barbecue chicken pizza. We're going to eat it. Just me and Rocco. Hola! It's your boy, Big Rob, back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto. If it's your first time checking us out, we're an entertainment-focused cryptocurrency channel where we take that old, boring, and stale information and repackage it up in a fun and sexy way. Before I get too ahead of myself and forget that we have a sponsor, we have a sponsor. It's Cam's Blue Wire Tech, and they provide all of your networking services, so that way you can scale. And here's hold on, I got a script here. Cam's Blue Wire Technology provides your business with scalable IT solutions you can focus on new revenue streams for your business. There you go. And the link is in the description, website as well. So,
Rob, I love your shirt.
You like it?
Yeah, beautiful. You know, like the flower. What was that? It's definitely no desert style.
You know, there's actually a Quaker parrot hiding somewhere in the print here. So, you know, it's like a Where's Waldo? So, I am getting ready for my trip to Miami. I figure, why not wear some decor that matches the environment? So, I'm really excited. You know,
somebody says a Dave shirt.
Dave shirt. No, you don't like the shirt? If you like the shirt, hit the like button. Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Muchas gracias. Also, if you are new here, say hello so we can drop an hola back at you. I will be taking inventory here on the names, and then I'll drop an hola here in a second. I do see that we had a Pump in here earlier, and Benny, Blue Eyes, Creek Kong as well. So to all of you, hola! Welcome to Sin City Crypto. So what's on the docket today? What are we talking about? Well, first of all, the SEC has officially replied to Coinbase's lawsuit. So if you've been out of the loop on this latest lawsuit, Coinbase has said, hey, we've asked the SEC for some clarity on what is and what isn't a security, or what is and what isn't illegal, because apparently they say everything's legal. And so they finally have returned a response. Also, we have a Ledger. Ledger is keeping your seed phrase? Question mark? So, yeah, we'll get into that as well. Twitter is in a storm about that. And then we also talking a little Solana. And Solana's transactions are through the roof right now. And speaking of Solana, we also have a big Solana homer joining us today, co-hosting this, not in place of David. We have brought in Forrest. So there he is, man. So welcome, Forrest. Thanks for holding down the show with us today. So,
oh, my pleasure. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. We need to get you a Hawaiian shirt. I feel like you would look good.
I do. I'm not matching the vibe here, but I do have a big wave behind me.
There we go.
You know?
Okay. All right. Well, you know, I was in this, and I've been preaching all week that we're going to be at 30K this week on Bitcoin, just for the simple price history and little 2-month windows. Haven't had much movement in Bitcoin. I'll just take a quick look at what's going on in the markets, and then maybe we'll take a look at some price action. So you got Bitcoin coming in at a flat 27,000, 27.2, and you know, we've been here all week now, and you know, nice little consolidation, but a little down from where we were at the beginning of the month. We were at 30K, and taking a look at the 1 year chart, you know, it was 1 year ago we were at 30K as well. So, you know, we've gained a lot of what was lost over the second half of 2022. So a lot of people are saying the bottom is in. I tend to agree. I do think even in a worst case scenario where we go into a deep recession, banks go under, we've seen that a lot of money is fleeing the banking system and actually going into Bitcoin. And I think this is more could be a bullish scenario. You're going to have both buy and sell pressures on Bitcoin if we go into a recession and you have some banking issues. One, because, hey, money is, the money that would typically go into risk on assets, where some people are just buying Bitcoin as a long shot, at least in their portfolio. And then there's another group of people, traditional legacy investors, that are buying Bitcoin as a store of value, as digital gold, and as a hedge against what is going on with the banks. With that said, taking a look at some of the other biggest gainers. Well, real quick, we also got Ethereum kind of flat. So everything is right near baseline at 0%, not too much. You can see Ethereum is only down less than 0.5%. Same thing with XRP. Cardano's down 1.3. So not too much movement there on the downside. Conflux is up 9%. Render token up 5%. And Lido up 4%. And then some of the biggest losers, Kava, Sui, and XDC, and Graph. So there are a handful of projects at 5%, but not too much movement. We've had a lot of big numbers coming out from the Fed or federal government regarding unemployment, and with unemployment and the some of the Fed numbers. Anyways, going into some of the crypto bubbles here, you do got Conflux as well up, just as a visual. Hex, little rebound, up 6%. Taking a look at the weekly here, you can see Hex is down 42%. And on the month, it's not, remember at 1 month ago, we were at 30K on Bitcoin. So you can see kind of where we're at on the whole market there. Fear and Greed Index, yesterday was at 50. Now we're at 54. And just to take a quick peek at the stock market, pretty flat here as well. So not too much movement in the overall markets. And then I want to take a quick look at this. You got the whale chart account here. And I didn't see any corresponding articles yet. I'll take a look here in a moment. But South Korean officials have raided the offices of Bitcoin and crypto exchanges Upbit and BitHum. Is it BitHum or BitBythum? Which one is it? So, BitHum and Upbit. I'm not too familiar with Upbit, but BitHum is a pretty big exchange. I'm not sure if their offices if their main headquarters is in South Korea. So I'll, as maybe Forrest does some TA, I'll look into this. But this is breaking news from Whale Chart. So we'll take a look there. And then with some of these unemployment numbers that just came in, Wall Street Silver here tweeted out, consumer delinquencies are already as high as they were in 2020. Unemployment rate is still low, at an all-time low. This is scary. So you can see here, this is unemployment. So right now, unemployment is pretty low. And, could you make an argument that the unemployment is at the bottom and due for a reversal? I think we've, obviously you can only go so low before everybody has a job, right? So at some point this will reverse. And what might cause it to reverse? Well, consumer delinquencies in the billions here. So I think this is $4.2 trillion here. And this is right at the same level it was in 2020. And you can see in correlation here with what happens when the delinquencies peak out, you get what's called a credit bubble. And here with this credit bubble at the top here, this is what sent us into the 2008, 2010 crash. And so you can see here that unemployment spiked with climbing delinquencies. A lot of people were out of jobs. The S&P 500, obviously, and the regular markets pulled back. Banks collapsed. And we're starting to get into a similar zone here as well. So a little worrisome. So that's what I got there on the macro markets. Forrest, though, what do you think about this credit bubble that we're getting into? You know, there's a lot of different narratives when it comes to the credit bubble. One being consumer credit, and then you also have businesses are teetering. There's this big commercial real estate bomb that everyone's talking about. Well, one, people are working from home and not at the offices anymore. And on top of that, you have online shopping. So a lot of the retail spaces have dried up on the commercial real estate. And so what do you think about what's going on the macroeconomics and some of these headline numbers that we're getting in?
Yeah, this is super interesting as far as the credit bubble goes. Like I know people personally who, you know, I don't agree with this decision whatsoever, but back in COVID, they were laid off or whatever, started collecting unemployment, but then you had the checks come in, like the stimulus checks started coming in. There were like different programs and like, you know, rents, or moratorium on rents and mortgages and no foreclosures for a period of time. And I know people who, well after things reopened, just continued to remain unemployed because they didn't want to go back to work, and they had enough savings saved up, and they're living off of credit cards and living off of savings and living off of stimulus checks. And it seems like the credit bubble's starting to creep back up. So it's interesting. I think people are going to start having to go back to work. What's interesting, though, is unemployment right now. It's very confusing because you've potentially people needing multiple jobs to get by, but then you still have low unemployment given the circumstances that we are with the Fed rising or jacking up interest rates. You would have expected unemployment to rise by now. So it's definitely a very confusing time, and I think it has a lot to do with what happened during COVID.
Are you expecting a deeper recession in the traditional markets? And I know I've heard this. I feel like this is coming back up to the top lately. It seems like that narrative had kind of died down for a couple months, and then lo and behold, with the latest banks to go under, it's kind of come up again. And I mean, what do you think? Is the S&P 500, is that telling you anything, or do you just kind of going off of sentiment and kind of history, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one recession indicator is the yield curve, right? And then the recession usually comes after the yield curve fixes itself and is no longer inverted. And we're still inverted, I believe. I haven't checked it in a little bit, but it's starting to move back up, if I'm not mistaken. I really need to go check on that chart. But yeah, it's really difficult to argue against recession. The biggest argument against recession right now is the fact that Jerome Powell and the Fed have been able to jack up interest rates to an appropriate level. If you go to Trueflation, which is the more up-to-date, real-time inflation numbers, it's down to like 3.5%. So it's now within striking distance of 2%. You have worries of potential deflation even by some people. But the fact that they've been able to do that without pushing the unemployment rate up significantly is the only strong argument, in my opinion, or that I know of, against a harder recession and a harder landing. I still do think that all of the other indicators are pointing towards a recession. A lot of, in terms of timing, a lot of stuff adds up to Q3 of this year, which we are approaching closer and closer. We only got a month and a half until Q3 starts, but historically Q3 is the worst performing quarter for the S&P 500 in any given year. So usually that September, October time is really bad as well. So end of Q3, start of Q4, usually not a good time for the S&P 500 anyways.
Yeah, I do still kind of always lay in that same mentality where if all the analysts and all of the media personalities and the mainstream news, if they're echoing this, hey, we're going to a recession, or hey, it's time to buy houses that are now, a lot of times that is a signal for reversal. We've seen it historically. when we had the 2008 financial crash with the housing, that kind of caught everybody off guard. The same thing when you've had the reversals out of, say, the bottom of the COVID, where everyone was talking about, hey, the world is coming to an end, and then from there we saw one of the biggest rally in the S&P 500 and our U.S. markets throughout the history of our nation. And with that said, I'm looking around the room and everybody's sitting here saying that we're going into a recession. All indicators point that to that, but for me, I'm like, man, I've heard this song and dance before. And when they speak at Jackson Hole, the Fed, when they have their annual meeting, this year was pretty bearish. And if you look at the tone of those meetings, usually they have done the opposite. And so in the year that we had COVID, the meeting was ominous, and they're preparing for banking collapses. And that kicked off the big rally in the traditional markets. The same to be said during 2021 and even in 2022. They were echoing prosperity, and now, hey, look, we had a big pullback. So I think we'll be okay. I think the bottom for the S&P 500 is in on the short term. My personal opinion, could be wrong. I'm more 50-50 on that. And then at the same time, I do think that Bitcoin's bottom is in. Speaking of Bitcoin, do you want to take a look at the Bitcoin chart and maybe see what's going on? It's been kind of a snooze fest lately, and I know you're a big trader, and if you've been making money, or you looking for a big breakout or anything?
Yeah, a couple decent little trades for me. I've been shorting Pepe, and I caught a nice little Solana long at around $20, which is up a little bit. I missed the big obvious trade with Bitcoin, but that's still a really solid indicator for I would say it's pretty bullish for Bitcoin here in the short term. We do want to be careful. So I've got a couple of different levels here that give us a lot of support at 25.8, and we see that you see like the strength of this wick here, right? So usually, like when you have a strong wick and you get really strong, fast price action off of a key support level, that's usually bullish. Whereas it's usually bearish when you hang out for a little while, right? When you come down to a support level and you just keep hanging out, and you can't get a strong bid and take out any resistance levels, right? Then that's usually quite bearish. So what we want to see is the second half of that equation play out. So we got our strong bounce, and we're no longer hanging out down here, which is a great sign. But we now need to take out some of this resistance at around 27, where we're at right now. If we can reclaim that level and start creeping back up above 28K, right, then we can go back up to 30 and maybe even break out to the upside. But what I want to see now is just a clear break of 27, and I'd like to get back up above 28, to be honest. I'd be much more comfortable up here. Otherwise, we're just hanging out here towards the bottom of the range with our wick down to 26K. I'll show you why 26K was such strong support. So obviously at 25,863, that's our 5x short level. That's where you can no longer short Bitcoin on 5x leverage and hide your liquidation point below the swing high of 31K. We also have our long margin pressure levels off of this most recent local low of $19.5 thousand. And again, that was around 26K, right? So we had support come in here because buyers wanted to get into Bitcoin. They wanted to use 4x long leverage, and that allowed them to get those longs in on 4x leverage. So you had the shorts leaving the market, you had the longs entering the market. And you also had a really interesting risk reward level. So if your reward scenario is a new local high, right, and your risk scenarios, this bear market low, you found really strong support here once again at 25,850, meaning as soon as this price action drops to 25,850 or below, you can no longer get 2-to-1 risk reward on your shorts. So again, you have another reason for shorts to leave the market and start covering their trades. All those shorts that built up moving down, they're now covering a little bit of a short squeeze. It's really a matter of, do we get follow through and do we get a bid to push us through this resistance, right? Because as soon as price action goes up above this 27,146 level, those shorts can start loading back up and start getting 3-to-1 risk reward, right? So what we really want to see is a recovery of this 27K level, take out 28K. If we get above 28K, then I'd say that's pretty bullish. And there's a really strong chance that we rotate back up to the top of the range or even move higher. In the meantime, I'm just being very cautious. I do think that even if Bitcoin has temporarily topped out and we come back down to 23 or even just to 25 where our previous range highs were, and get a larger correction, I do think that there's going to be plenty of opportunities in the market from various outlets such as altcoins or potentially NFTs as well. We're already actually starting to see NFT volume pick up this week pretty strongly. So NFT volumes starting to pick up, and I do think we could get a little altcoin or a little NFT run. And the reason being is you actually saw altcoins not altcoins. But NFT like Bored Ape Yacht Club peaked in this range somewhere, right? So after Bitcoin was already in a large correction and was down quite a bit, this is when you saw Azuki and Bored Ape Yacht Club and CryptoPunks peaking, right? After the top was already in. So we can get a little mini bear market rally cycle where it follows the same thing. We may have another leg, not counting that out. But if the local top is in and we're going to come back down to 24, 25, I still think there's going to be some NFT projects that pump some individual opportunities in the market to take advantage of.
Good. Awesome. I want to talk about, there's been so much buzz on the internet, particularly Twitter. Ledger is in a straight firestorm right now. Did you hear about Ledger or anything that was going on with them and their whole seed phrase firmware update? Have you caught any wind of this?
Yeah. It's wild. That they basically are like, oh, we want to make crypto more friendly. We'll hold your seed phrase safe for you, which is like you never give anybody your seed phrase.
It's like one of those things that sounds good in a boardroom, and then you have like somebody that started the company or been there for a while that hasn't been in the boardroom for a while. And he just comes in, he's like, what are y'all doing, man? It's stupid. So on one end, if they deliver what they're promising, it is not that big a deal. But it does bring in some points. Okay, to get everybody caught up to speed, and Raw 2.0 in the chat said, why is everyone posting Ledger? We're about to break it down for you. Also, if you're new here, say hello. Just a quick shout out to some of our people in the chat. We do have XRP Hodler, VLAD, Zoltan, Zadi, Sly Pig, and SVarg. To all of you, hola! Welcome to Sin City Crypto. And then, what's going on with Ledger? So, taking a look here, you have Ledger under fire for recover a new cloud-based seed phrase backup feature. So what is this all about? So the hardware wallet manufacturer Ledger is facing criticism for a new firmware update. The update introduces a recovery feature that allows Ledger to back up seed phrases. So now the subscription-based feature called Recover, the feature is facing criticism for granting the company access to customer seed phrases, which undermines the purpose of the hardware wallet. The feature also includes KYC registration. Like, why is nobody talking about this right here? That is crazy to me. And then on top of that, so currently the subscription service is only available to Ledger Nano X devices. And the identification card requirement is for pertaining users in the EU, the UK, Canada, and the United States. This is pretty concerning to me. I know a lot of people are freaking out about the seed phrases, but why on earth do I need to give my USB stick drive a ID? Let that sink in, right? Your USB, the Ledger, it is essentially a USB stick with security features. That's what it is. Because if you didn't know, if you wanted to keep your Bitcoin on a USB flash drive, like a thumb drive, you can. And historically, in the early days, you either kept it on a hardware, on a hard drive, or on a USB thumbstick. And so that's where we came up with these hardware devices. And also, I will say that you don't have to update your firmware. And we've seen there's been different instances where they have been able to recover somebody's funds on a hardware wallet because of some oversight on the firmware. And then so they've updated these before. And people can opt out of updating if you want. Now, with that said, there has been so this video was posted. So I'm just going to play this real quick. It's about 2 minutes long. I'm only going to probably play about half of it.
Hello, I'm Charles Guillemet, CTO at Ledger. I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce a new service. Ledger Recover is an optional subscription for users who want a backup of their secret recovery phrase so they can restore access to their wallets whenever, wherever, even if they have lost or broken their Ledger Nano and don't have their recovery sheet with them. For some people, it's a very convenient service, but some others simply don't need it. You can continue managing your secret recovery phrase all by yourself if that's why you bought a Ledger at the first place. This is not automatically enabled by any firmware updates. This is your choice. Self-custody is at the core of our offering, and your secret recovery phrase is created
okay, so we'll leave it there. And just to highlight what the company's intentions are, it's to offer it's going to give you the firmware update if you plug it in, right? It's going to prompt you right away to update it. Now, after that, you can toggle on the version that uploads your seed phrase to a database. The database is supposed to be encrypted, and even the Ledger company doesn't have access to it, but you can have access to it through your recovery app. We've seen before Ledger has a history of data leaks, so it's kind of concerning. Now with that, now the Ledger tweet goes on to read here: Ledger Recovery is optional subscription service, and if you want to use it, you can. You don't have to, is what they're saying. And then they are just replying to a firestorm here of tweets. This is not automatically enabled. Once again, they say that. But first and foremost, how is your secret recovery phrase generated? Anyways, they go into a little bit more descriptions there. Going into some other tweets, this is the community backlash here. Ledger hardware wallet faces backlash and potential class action lawsuits. Apparently, lawyers waste no time putting together a lawsuit. And this also says the new service sends encrypted shards of your seed phrase to custodians. Despite past data leaks, the audacious move links your ID to your seed phrase. So you have KYC, you got identification, you have your seed phrase going to a database, to a company that has had data leaks in the past. And then you have also, so here's a tweet from Ledger where now you have Zach XBT coming out and saying, hey, you're hiding replies. So to this tweet right here, where people were kind of bashing Ledger and asking, why the hell are you taking our seed phrase and storing it? The replies have been hidden or removed from Ledger. And then Zach XBT has highlighted these, which Ledger has come out and says, hey, Twitter automatically hides responses that are aggressive in the comment section. So Ledger did it wasn't our fault. We didn't hide those. Twitter did it automatically. I find that hard to believe again. So, okay. I want to open this up for saying the service sounds good at face value for people that might not be crypto savvy, right? Hey, I could lose my seed phrase, but it's gone forever. And, is that, is that beneficial for the user? Sure. Especially if it is hypothetically 100% encrypted. It sounds like a good deal, right? But then, when you think about it, the whole premise of crypto is to custody your own crypto, especially if you're getting a hardware wallet. That's like the whole point. You're not keeping it on an exchange. You don't want anybody else to custody it. So, Forrest, what is your initial thoughts on this? Do you think that they have a good idea and maybe they messed up the rollout instead of having an optional firmware update? Maybe it was like a beta firmware you could download that gave you this feature, and then maybe you could opt into that, because I feel like they're just updating and not really explaining. And God forbid you toggle a feature on and you lose all your crypto.
Yeah, so I think where this entire move is likely stemming for them is a flaw in their business model. Is like, once you buy a ledger, like you never need another. Like, right, it stays good basically forever. It might eventually die. You might need one in a couple of years. But or you might have, like, they might release a model with new fancy features or whatever, but their customer lifetime value is very capped, right? So it seems like they're just trying to introduce a subscription model, which is way more sustainable from a business perspective. And in doing so, they've come up with this feature. So it's almost like they've developed this feature out of need for money, rather than actually just developing a feature that there's demand for and that people actually want. So the way I understand that it works is that they split up your seed phrase into three different chunks, and they send that out to three different data storage providers. And then if you ever want to recover it, I believe the reason for KYC is they have to have you identified in the database, because if you ever want to recover your funds, you have to go to those three different data providers and pass ID verification 3 separate times. But that's kind of a problem, because people get their identity stolen all the time. So if you have your social security number stolen, you have your driver's license stolen, and people can just go in and pass identity verification on your behalf, they could potentially steal all your crypto. What the piece that people are so upset about is this firmware update, and this is unclear to me, and I think it's not super clear to the rest of the space. This firmware update that they claim is sending it's accessing your seed phrase and sending it off to these 3 different data storage providers. That's a problem, because that means that there was a backdoor into access your seed phrase from the very start with a firmware update, meaning they should not have access to your seed phrase at all. Where it's unclear is, does it access your seed phrase and send it off when you opt into the subscription? If so, that means there was a backdoor. That's very, very, very bad. Or do you have to go and retrieve and recover your seed phrase that you wrote down and actually input that, because there's no way for them to recover it out of your device? If that's the case, I think that's far less egregious than I still don't think it's a great way to do security. I still think you could have your funds stolen. I don't think it's worth the trade-off. But that's not nearly as bad as if they can actually backdoor and actually grab your seed phrase, break it up into 3 parts, and then send it off without you actually having to type it in. That is a big problem. And that's what people are up in arms about.
Do you think that Ledger, because they come out publicly saying that they don't have access to anybody's seed phrases, and yet they can just toggle on a service that sends it out? And, you were kind of touching on that. Do you think that as of right now, they could pull up somebody's seed phrase if they truly wanted to? Do you think they have the capabilities to do so? Or do you think it is truly 100% not in their control? Because I'm starting to come into question, do they have a database of seed phrases? Right? I mean, I'm assuming you toggle on the feature, and from what they're saying, it sends the seed phrase out, and then from there it's encrypted or whatever. But You think they can?
If that's the case, that is a huge problem, and they'll probably go out of business. Honestly, if that's the case, like people will leave in droves because that means that they had access to your seed phrase in one way or another, and that there was a back door. I can't imagine that's the case. If that's the case, then that's just really bad on them. That's just really, really not smart. I would hope that you would have, if you want to opt into this service, that you'd have to go and get that little card that you write your seed phrase down on and actually punch it in to send it off manually. If they're able to grab it, that is no bueno for Ledger customers and Ledger as a company.
Yeah. And once again, that's just kind of speculation, but at the same time, I never would have thought that this service would have even existed. And it kind of goes against the whole premise of a hardware wallet. And I feel like if you want to pay for someone to custody your seed phrase, there are services for that already. And why have this enabled on your USB? My other concern would be, if they have KYC from individuals and they are subpoenaed by a government, say the U.S. government, says, hey, this wallet address, which happens to be a Ledger hardware wallet, we know who owns that wallet, or we know the individual that owns that wallet, and they can find out, or they say, hey, we know that somebody has a hardware wallet on Ledger, right? Let's just say they know there's one person, let's just say an oligarch, right, from Russia, and they want access to his wallet. If he were to toggle this service on and that information was saved as far as his ID, do you think that they would be able, because I'm assuming yes, that if they got subpoenaed by the U.S. government and said, hey, this guy's got an account with Ledger, you got his identification, we want to know which address is his wallet. And that's where I got some real concerns. And when I was going through all of this research for this Ledger situation, I wasn't so much concerned with the seed phrase. I put trust in Ledger. I believe in the company. I think that I think this is just a bad move for them in the direction of the seed phrase thing. But anyways, I trust Ledger, but I think they'll follow a subpoena's orders if they have somebody's ID. I mean, do you find this concerning, Forrest, or am I kind of in my own little tinfoil hat?
Less concerning because you don't have to KYC, I guess. Like if you do KYC, I would just expect, I would just, if you're somebody who's going to KYC with Ledger for this service, I would just expect that you're no longer like that is a risk. Like that is a risk that you would want to kind of account for. I do think in general, it is pretty difficult to keep money private if the U.S. government really wants to tie you to a certain crypto address. Like if you just look at like chances are you probably onboarded through like money through a bank or a debit card at some point, wire transfer that is tied or in your name. So, they can probably trace addresses back to you, depending on, how many steps along the way it took. It could be a little more or less complicated. That's where stuff like Monero and Zcash really kind of shine, is because you can actually own value, you can own crypto and not have it tied back to your actual identity in any way, shape, or form. So I do see that. Like, I don't think it's a good thing that they're KYCing people, but I think people need to understand that, hey, as soon as you KYC with something, like just assume that like exactly what you said is a potential thing that can happen. So yeah,
I think that's the big problem. I think that's the scary thing, is that like you'll just sign up for a service. Because here's the thing: if I was naive, I'd be like, you know what, this is just like two-factor authentication. It's just like using my Google Authenticator app. You know what? I just got to put my ID. That way, I can get my funds if I lose my seed phrase. Next thing you know, you're getting audited by the IRS, and they're like, oh, hey, by the way, we found your Ledger transaction. You're holding 2 Bored Apes in there, and you're just like, what? Like, what do you mean? They're like, well, you KYC with Ledger, and yeah, we found that. I just I think that there's a lot of situations that could pop up. I'm not a big fan of this. I think that there are services for seed phrase storage. If you want to use a ledger, you're doing it because you don't trust the third parties and you want to custody yourself. If you want somebody to manage your seed phrase, you can literally get the same way that Ledger is uploading it to 3 different places. You can get a service that will break up your seed for. It's a 3-factor authenticator for your seed phrase in a physical form. So you can have a box stored somewhere. And then you have to have like 3 people with identifications come down, all agree, or 2 of the 3 people to access your seed phrase or to get access to that box. And if you want those services, they are already available. Why tie it in with a piece of hardware that's supposed to unplug you and now the service is to plug you back in? It seems like it's a little backwards to me. Moving on.
We're just trying to make money, man.
Yeah, moving on. I want to talk about the elephant in the room, the SEC. We can't go 1 week without talking about the SEC. I feel like they are the arch nemesis of crypto, and Thanos is Gary Gensler, or maybe the Emperor Palpatine, whatever his name is. Yeah, he kind of looks like Emperor
Caligula.
What is his name?
Nero or Caligula? I don't know.
Yeah, Emperor Palpatine. Let's see. Emperor. I'm telling you, man, he kind of looks like Gary Gensler a little bit, bro. I'm telling you. Let me see. I gotta. Yeah, I mean, he got the Gary look on him, I'm just saying. So this is the main villain in Star Wars, Rocco.
Oh,
you ever watch Star Wars?
Not the TV series. Only
It's not a TV show. It's a movie.
Only the TV show, not the movie.
You've seen the TV show. Gotcha. So we have a SEC response to Coinbase's request for action by saying no. So let me just get you caught up to speed if you haven't been following along. The SEC has sued Coinbase, and they said, first of all, they approved them to be a publicly traded company. They approved their business operations to exchange crypto. And then, about 8 months later, they say, oh, by the way, you're exchanging securities. That is illegal. After they looked over their business and approved them anyways, Coinbase got a little salty. And they said, hey, look, we have been asking you what is a security and what is not a security. What is legal to trade, what is not. Can you give us some clarity? Because nobody, not even the people that work at the SEC, Hester Pierce, not even other branches of governments, not even Congress, nobody knows how to regulate a crypto asset. They don't know even how to define a crypto asset or which box it fits in. Is it a security? Is it a commodity? Is it something unique outside of both of those boxes? This has not been addressed. There's been no regulation, and the SEC has stepped up as the sheriff in town and said, hey, since nobody wants to put the rules down, we're just gonna take this and we're gonna drop the hammer. That's what we're gonna do. And what we've had is just enforcement by bullying. That's it. And I'm coined that one myself. Enforcement by bullying. And anyways, the SEC, in response to the SEC, Coinbase it went to a federal court, asked a judge to say, hey, we asked for clarity almost a year ago on what is and what is not a security and what is and what isn't illegal. We're just trying to operate our business within the legal confines of the way it's constructed. Can you give us some clarity? Because we've asked the SEC, they're not giving us an answer. And so the court said, hey, SEC, you have 10 days. Give Coinbase an answer. You have 10 days. They have a reasonable request, and you're obviously prolonging it for no apparent reason. And the SEC, this is their response. no. Yeah, literally that is their response. In a nice long legal construct here, they have said, no, we're actually not going to give you any clarity. Sorry. So in April, Mandamus petition, which is the Coinbase demanded federal courts to instruct the SEC to act and issue clear guidelines for the crypto exchanges and companies. So once again, Coinbase is acting in the best interests of not only their own exchange, but the crypto industry in its entirety. They've been out publicly saying, hey, we're doing this. We're fighting the SEC for crypto adoption in the US and for other agencies, not just their own. Now, in response, released Monday evening in New York, the SEC alleged Coinbase has no right to mandamus. How do you pronounce that? I don't know. Anyways, which orders the government agency to fulfill certain duties. And so what they're saying is that they're asking a department of government for an answer, and they are required to give the answer. It is their job. Perhaps recognizing this, Coinbase instead asserts that the court should compel the commission to act on Coinbase's recently filed rulemaking petition. So the SEC wrote in its response, but no statute or regulation requires the commission to take any such action. Okay, what does this mean? They're basically saying they're not required to give an answer. That's all they're saying. They're like, hey, we're saying you're sitting here saying we're required to give an answer. We're not required to give an answer. And then proceed. Mere months have passed. So they're saying that, Coinbase said, hey, it's been almost a year. SEC said, well, it's only been a few months, mere months, which has been 8 months to be particular, since the Coinbase petition was filed, and less time has elapsed since Coinbase's supplemented the record. So I think they're saying 10 days. It's a little absurd for an answer. And then lastly, deliberating over the kind of significant changes sought by Coinbase, which could affect both crypto assets and security markets more generally, takes time. And so time to weigh whether or not to initiate a rulemaking procedure, such as topics in the first instance. This particularly true given the commission's active regulatory and enforcement agenda in this area. What they're saying here is this is complex. They're going to need some time. It's unreasonable for them to give an answer in such a short period of time. But the thing is that they've had 8 months. And if you want to step up to the plate and say, hey, we are going to regulate this industry, you should at least provide the rule book for how the game is played, right? And then before we get into the discussion of this between the two of us, we have a official. So this is Paul Grewal, and he's a spokesman for Coinbase. He said today the SEC responded to Coinbase's petition for a writ of mandamus, asking the court to require the SEC to respond just yes or no whether it will undertake rulemaking for the industry. The answer from the SEC is a resounding maybe. So this has got a nice little thread here. So there's actually a pretty big, and so what we're doing here. Give me 1 second here. Where's the 4, 5, 6, 7? So here you can see this whole briefing here. So this is the court briefing. And what they do here in this tweet thread is just to kind of summarize it in Coinbase's fun way. And so we're going to kick this off here. So Coinbase comes off and saying today's filing may be the first time when the SEC has formally explained in court its views on whether and how the SEC should create rules for the crypto industry. The SEC told the court that rulemaking may take years and they're in no rush. The SEC acknowledged that it will continue to use enforcement actions and substitute the hand as a substitute for rulemaking for the foreseeable future. But not to worry, those enforcement actions may eventually inform not yet planned rulemaking. The SEC said that the public statements by Chair Gary Gensler are not formal guidance or policy statements from the SEC, and the public cannot rely on those as such. Overall, the SEC's response reinforces Coinbase's longstanding concern that our industry does not have clarity on what the SEC may consider to be within or outside its jurisdiction at any time, and is likely to continue changing its mind along the way. We look forward to the opportunity to reply formally next week. As always, we continue to appreciate the court's careful consideration. And so that's to summarize what we have here. You got the SEC saying, hey, we are going to continue this enforcement and we are going to continue regulating this industry. We are not going to tell you how the rules work, and we're in no rush to do so. We're in no rush to create the rules. We got years to do so. It's not realistic that companies are asking us to clarify the rules, and we're gonna handle this. And by the way, don't take anything Gary Gensler, the head of the whole agency, don't take anything he says as any kind of input, any realistic input, right? Yeah, when the court asked Coinbase to clarify some rules 10 days ago, and they said, you have 10 days. The last thing I thought I was going to get, was, we don't want to do that, and it's going to take us a while to put it together, and we're just going to keep doing enforcement the way we have been with no rules and clarity. I thought that they fool me once, twice, 1,000 times. I don't know. I just assumed that Coinbase was going to be like, okay, sure. Or not Coinbase. SEC was going to be like, okay, sure, fine. We'll give you our insight on what is and what isn't a security. We'll try to give you a little... Wrong. I was wrong about that, man. I was wrong about that. They're still doing their damn thing. What do you think about all this mess?
Yeah, it's kind of sad to begin with, but I think it's what kicks off the next bull market to begin with. We need a state of clarity for large institutions to be able to get into crypto and build in crypto in a meaningful way. Like, I just don't think that you see some of like the further out people like MicroStrategy. Sure, they'll add Bitcoin to their balance sheet, but MicroStrategy can't really add anything else. Not necessarily that they would, but there's probably other companies that would consider adding Ethereum or Bitcoin or other, large cap cryptocurrencies, or PaxG, like a gold stable, like crypto to their balance sheet and operating in crypto if they actually had regulatory clarity on whether or not they're adding a security to their balance sheet or not. You have Apple, who's probably, I would imagine they are frothing at the mouth to create a stablecoin payments network or some sort of crypto payment blockchain solution that they can integrate into every smartphone, the millions and millions of smartphones that they have out there, and take a transaction fee on and get into the payments game and get ahead of the curve. But they can't really do that when there's this cloud of lack of clarity about whether Ethereum or Arbitrum or these layer 2s or Solana or Avalanche are securities or not. There's just way too much risk for that to happen. So I think when this eventually is resolved and we eventually do get clarity, whether it's next year or 3 years from now, that's going to cause a bull market, because once there's clarity, big players can get in. And this is what I think the game is for Gary Gensler. I think he and whoever controls him, or whoever is pulling the strings behind the scenes, if it's not Gary Gensler in control completely, is trying to slow down crypto. They want to keep it as ambiguous and create as a big vacuum of clarity so that they slow down crypto and they can come in with a CBDC so that the government can control currency and payments rather than have it be decentralized. At the end of the day, people in power, the government, they do not want to lose control over payments and currency and money. So, I think this is all just a big part of the game, and I don't know who is capable of legally getting. I don't know if it's the courts or if it's the president or whoever it is that can actually get rid of Gary Gensler, but hopefully it's a matter of time before they do. And we're already seeing him get bashed publicly. The Chamber of Commerce, that was big news, I think last week or the week before, coming out and just saying this is ridiculous. He's getting called out. It's just a matter of whether or not he can get away with it and not face any repercussions for it.
Yeah, I'm just so tired of the. I'm tired of the entire country's lack of progressive adoption of crypto assets. And the thing is, we're going backwards. That's what I truly don't understand. It's not that we're lacking the infrastructure and we're just pausing everything. We're saying, hey, we don't know about this. We don't know about crypto. Is that we've been actively trading, and Coinbase has been operating for, I think it might be 10 years now. And, this has been an ongoing successful business model that is operated here in the United States, that provides jobs, that generates revenue for the U.S. economy. It's a publicly traded company. And we've spent the last 10 years building out the infrastructure to trade and custody and move around crypto. And we're starting to see the integration of crypto and blockchain technology in everyday American companies. And that is being ripped away. And anyone that wants to adopt crypto is now putting on the brakes. We've seen Western Union initially was going to do a partnership with Ripple Labs to move intermittent payments, and that came to a grinding halt after the SEC's lawsuit. They did eventually partner up with Stellar Lumens, but this was all done in the deal kind of in an offshore kind of way. And it's very concerning because I live here. It's my damn home. I got a cryptocurrency channel, and y'all are just trying to take everything away. Is it? I don't think there's. I don't have an answer. I don't even see anything. I don't even see any light at the end of the tunnel. And I like what you said. I do think that this could mark the coming of the next bull market. Because historically speaking, you can go back to all the other bear markets, and the narrative has always been, oh my God, crypto is dead. Now, we haven't heard that Bitcoin is dead or that crypto is dead in its kind of entirety, but now that narrative has shifted to crypto is dead in the US, and the US hates Bitcoin. And US is going to be the next China when it comes to their rules on crypto. Real quick though, I do want to give a really quick intermission to give some love to the chat. We got Meninja dropping a $1.99 super sticker, and then we also had a super chat from CritCats. And CritCats said this was a little earlier. Feel like this great marketing for Trezor. So he is saying that all the Ledger fund. This has to be right. Just in the same way that when Bud Light got hammered with their marketing decisions, we saw that a lot of the other competitors in the light beer industry rallied. So it is probably a good day. I'm sure the people at Trezor are sitting back like, yeah, Ledger, that was a good one there, buddy. So I'll say that. I want to know real quick. You know what? Trezor, Ledger is more popular than Trezor. At least I think it is in my own personal bubble. Do you agree? Okay.
For sure.
Okay. I want to know what the chat thinks. If you were to pick one up right now, the Ledger I think looks nicer. It's a little bit more sleek. They got the new models. Are you going to buy a Ledger? Put a 1 in the chat if you're picking up a new hardware wallet. Would you buy a Ledger? Put a 1 for a Ledger. Put a 2 for Trezor if you're going to pick up a hardware wallet. I kind of want to know what the sentiment is. Are you guys so disgusted that you're going to switch over to Trezor? Also, we got Jimmy dropping 20 gifted memberships. And then lastly, we got like 140 likes and over 350 people. Like, what the hell y'all doing, man? That's like a 30% like ratio. So hit the like button, guys. Help us get to 500 viewers. We will open up the club today. You know why? Because your boy going to Miami, and I gotta get some salsa dancing in. Because if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, stay tuned. We'll open up the club a little later. Now a lot of 2s. You know what? There are a handful of 1s here, but a lot of 2s in the chat. So a lot of Trezors, huh? Wow. Okay. And then lastly, I'm going to get back into the chat here. We have a few new people I'm seeing. If you're new here, say hello. So that way we can drop an hola back at you. All right. All right, here we go. We got Mark B, Gala Music Player, Randomness, XCD, Chris, Lonesome Dove, Michael F, Brendan, Thomas, Harry, Style, JP Trees, Nico Toe, Lusky, and then we got TC as well, Johnny Two Pockets, Mark B, Bradley Boyoko, Gannon Lang, Edward M, Inspector Ape, and Piranha Psychia, Brett G, and Omar Rogers, Timo. Hola! Welcome. Whew. It was a tough one. All right, so okay, back to the SEC. I don't know if we're going to get out of this SEC situation anytime in the near future. And I think that if there is one big win, even though they're trying to suppress the crypto markets, and SEC is pushing down on everything. If there's a big win, whether it's the XRP Ripple Labs lawsuit, whether it's Coinbase winning a favorable judgment, because this isn't a court case, this request for clarity through a federal court. They're not on trial here. They're just simply asked the court, and the court said, okay, Coinbase, please, or SEC, please give Coinbase an answer. So what we're saying is that the markets are down. FUD is everywhere. Look at history has been repeated. Every bear market, there's all this crypto's dead, all this FUD, but then it reverses. And I think the reversal will come with one of these decisions from the SEC, whether it's the Ripple case resolving favorably or the SEC being forced to say, okay, this is a security, this is not a security. That day will rally the markets and Bitcoin will hit 40,000, 50,000. Who knows? Do you kind of, I know you kind of scratched the surface on that for us. Do you think that, you think a big SEC defeat will rally a bull market?
Yeah, especially if like real clarity comes from it, or it lays the groundwork towards achieving clarity in a realistic time frame. I do think that, because that's ultimately what's going to allow larger institutions and larger amounts of money to enter the space. If you really think about it, retail, like how many people do you know that aren't in crypto that you could that are going to get into crypto in the next couple of months? All the retail people, all the people like you and I who are like going to get into crypto have heard of it and done at least a little bit of research, dipped their toes in. And I think that market of retail clients is not 100% saturated by any means. There's still like a ton of people, but like the people who would be interested in crypto anyways and get into it in its current state has largely been saturated to some degree. And it's the consumer applications. It's the people that are going to end up not even knowing that they're using crypto or blockchain solutions whether they're just integrated into their phone or into their bank or into, the stuff that they use every day. That's the next big wave, in my opinion. And that comes when institutions can actually build in crypto and build in blockchain with clarity. Like, it's like when Apple, the biggest growth for crypto is going to be when Apple has a blockchain solution integrated into every smartphone and every Mac computer. It's when it comes stock in every Android. Right? Like, that next step requires regulatory clarity in the United States, in my opinion, to happen. So, I totally agree. I think that's it'll be. And if we get if the SEC gets a big win, I think that's your buying opportunity, right? Just like FTX going under it crashed Bitcoin down to 15K. That was the time to buy. You buy the blood, buy the bad news. If XRP loses and the SEC wins, probably see a 30% crash of, definitely XRP probably, but also the rest of the market. And crypto's not going to die. That's when you buy, and we could rally out of that, just like we rallied out of COVID, just like we rallied out of FTX. So either way, I think, a conclusion to that saga is a good time to either wait for everything to crash a little bit, then buy, or buy and watch it rip if the SEC loses.
No, we covered an interview last week in regards to Brad Garlinghouse when he's in Dubai, and he said that he expects a resolution within the next 2 to 6 months, and that is lining up. That is lining up right before the halving, and for me, I don't think that we need the clarity. I'm just saying that, like, we need clarity, but what I think was going to be the most bullish situation for the crypto industry here in the States and just in overall is if the SEC has to stop and think about who they're going to sue. They basically are at a pause for dropping their enforcement actions because, hey, a court says, look, you're not allowed to regulate in this way by enforcement. Here are some rules, or we're saying that the way that you're enforcing is not lawful. And so these court cases can't continue. And so I think in a broader scheme, hey, SEC just pauses all of their lawsuits and litigation, and because right now it wouldn't surprise me if next week there's 3 more lawsuits and 2 more projects are deemed securities. But I think that if we get the resolutions to these situations here sooner than later, what we'll get is a pause or a window where the SEC will stop their current strategy. All right. So moving on, just to I don't want to be all doom and gloom here, but I just want to cover one other breaking article, I guess. Something that just kind of came out today. You have the FDIC chair takes responsibility for Signature Bank's collapse. Also, he cites crypto? ? So a report from the FDIC has revealed that poor management from the FDIC was the primary cause of Signature Bank's failure. So the agency that is supposed to help the banks and protect the banks, and the ones that are supposed to insure the banks, was the reason for Signature Bank's failure. And if you're not familiar with Signature Bank, well, they offered crypto services for exchanges. Basically, they were the on and off ramps, and they had very little exposure to these treasury assets, and they had very little exposure to some of the undoings for the other banks. Basically, we say, hey, they were forced to close because they had an association with crypto. That was what a lot of people were led to believe, even though the government has come out and said, no, that's not the case. They were at risk of going under. Well, poor management was the primary cause from the FDIC for Signature Bank's failures. So this just broke. So the chairman pointed out, so the House Committee Chairman Grunberg pointed out that Signature's downfall was largely a consequence of its inability to handle the repercussions of reckless growth strategy and insufficient risk management practices. They were operating like a bank, and they were taking customer deposits and using them elsewhere. the same way all other banks have done before, but the FDIC closed them down because they played around in the crypto circles. That's my own little take there. But at least they came out and said they were at fault for this. I don't have much in here. Just I'm not surprised. Just government dropping the ball as always. So what do you think, Forrest? Anything you want to add on this?
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Actually kind of surprised that they came out and took responsibility at all. Usually they just, don't acknowledge it. So
yeah.
Interesting.
All right. So let's move on to one of your favorite projects, and one of our recently covered projects on our video uploads. And you know what? I'm coming around. I'm coming around to Solana. So Solana sees surge in new users amid high fees on Ethereum and Bitcoin's networks. So we've seen, I did some transactions yesterday and some swaps. They were costing me anywhere between $25 and $80 on Ethereum in the middle of a bear market. So that whole idea of $200 transactions when the market's pumping is still here. And I don't think that there's going to be a hard fork that addresses this issue within the next coming months or the next 6 months or year. So be ready for them high gas fees. It's like the LA freeways here on the Ethereum and Bitcoin network. Higher fees on ETH and Bitcoin may be good news for Solana, with the average number of daily addresses has surged to the highest level in almost a year. I will say that I think that this is the market being more comfortable getting back into crypto and using DeFi services. Yes, the ETH and Bitcoin blockchains are heavily inundated with traffic, but I think people are feeling a little bit more comfortable. You're seeing people buy meme coins. NFTs are catching buzz again. I think the crypto degens are just having fun again. I think that's what it is. We'll get your thoughts here in a second. The Layer 1 network saw the 7-day moving averages on new addresses hit 300,000 on Monday, the highest number since June of 2022. And we do have a chart here so you can take a look. This is number of new addresses, and you can see that we are we're not too far off of the all-time high here, honestly. And, if you look at the price of Solana, it really hasn't moved as dramatically as these. The price is still pretty low, suppressed. While new wallets and transactions are going up, you can see here we were at an all-time high, and this is when you were at an all-time high as well on this chart. So you can see here this. Let's see what the date is. See if they line up. Oh no, yeah. So June. So May, June, 2022. Taking a look here, all-time high. Okay, so 20. That was here, but. Anyways, we haven't seen the price rally in comparison to the transactions. So I think that there's a lot of value in Solana. We know that the price has been suppressed. There's a lot of FUD going on in regards to the FTX holding a lot of their coins. Also, more new addresses have already been added in the first half of May than the protocol saw in its entire month of April, the data shows. The surge comes as transaction fees on both Ethereum and Bitcoin networks saw 3-month highs. So once again, one last chart that kind of shows this. This is the number of addresses on Solana on the monthly. And then this is the transaction fees on Bitcoin and Ethereum. The red line is Ethereum. The black is Bitcoin. And so you can see here that... yeah, those are moving, man. Okay, I don't have I don't really have much to say on this. I think that you should pay attention to Solana. I think that the price compared to the network activity is out of balance. I think that there is true value in Solana. I wouldn't be surprised to see it rip to $100 or maybe get up into the 80s. I think the big VC funds, they still believe in it. I still hear bullish narratives around it. What does all this tell you? Are users just simply looking to save a buck on gas fees, or do you think that the network is flourishing because people want to participate in the Solana network?
It's because developers are developing use cases and applications on Solana that cannot happen, or the economics do not work on high gas fee chains. And if I could actually share my screen here for just a second, I actually want to show you. Hopefully it'll pop up because it's my wallet. But this was today, and this was in the Backpack wallet. Can you guys see my wallet in the top right corner?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is the Mad Lads NFT project. We've covered this in the past. So one really cool thing that they did in this wallet, and what they're doing with this wallet technology, is you can mint directly from this wallet. So you see this banner up here, because like this popped up today, and because I owned over a certain number of Mad Lads NFTs, I was able to mint and claim for free a sweatshirt NFT, which this is an NFT that is in 2 weeks redeemable for the actual merch. So they basically airdropped me this, and it was like less than a penny to claim it, right? And now you can actually, these tokens, these merch NFTs are trading on secondary, right? There's t-shirts, sweatshirts, and Mad Lads is earning like royalties, like 4% royalties on the trading of this merch before it is actually redeemed. And you can't airdrop, like the unit economics of airdropping I'll stop sharing my screen here, a sweatshirt at mass scale, or merch at a mass scale. It just doesn't work on Ethereum, because either the company or the NFT project is going to have to pay, even a $5 gas fee times 10,000 NFTs is just too much, right? It's $50,000. If it's a $20 gas fee, it's just it doesn't work. It's just 200 grand. Imagine Monster Energy drink drops an NFT project, 10,000 Monster NFTs, and they could airdrop claimable sample packs to their biggest fans, right? So you pay $1,000 for a Monster NFT, and occasionally they're going to airdrop you an NFT that's redeemable for 10% off, or they're dropping a new flavor and they want to test it with their community. You get a free sample pack of the flavor. It's just like the cool things that you can do when gas fees are nominal is just like that stuff doesn't work. Those use cases just don't work, and people are actually developing for the future adoption on Solana right now. And that's why I think we've seen a big boost in transactions and people kind of gravitating towards it. There's Arbitrum, there's other scalable blockchain networks out there, but Solana is one of them that's seeing a lot of interest from the developer community, and they're developing some cool stuff.
Yeah, those NFTs actually look kind of cool. Those are Mad Labs, you said?
Mad Lads, yeah. So that's I think they're coming up. They're like 60 Solana right now. They minted for 6.9, so they've like almost 10x'd.
Can you dress
they're
your
cool.
NFT, or is it, how does that work? I don't know. I just looked at the sweatshirt. I was like, man, that looks pretty dope. What's that about?
That's like an actual physical sweatshirt that they'll send me in the mail once I redeem that token. Yeah. So it's like, so they airdropped it to my wallet, and I can sell the token before the redeem period is up. And they're selling, some of them are selling for like $400, but I could sell, because there's different rarities of the t-shirts and the sweatshirts. I can sell that for Solana, right? And just sell it like an NFT. And then whoever buys it will redeem it and get the sweatshirt. Or in 2 weeks, if I want the actual physical sweatshirt, I can just redeem it and they'll send me the sweatshirt in the mail. So it's like, what that does for consumer products is a really, really neat use case. You can own an NFT, and Monster Energy could send you a 6-pack of Monsters of a new flavor. And it really increases that, like Web3 engagement between the customer and the company.
And, if David was here, he would drop an unrealistic marketing decision on Rocco with his merch line. He'd be like, Rocco, can you do an NFT line?
I was already thinking about it.
Oh,
It's something I was already had in mind and just need to figure it out how to put it together. That was something I thought about it.
Yeah, because David likes to drop stuff on him all the time. He's like, "Hey, can we can we do a special T-shirt for our this member or whatever it is, like mid live?" We're just like, maybe we should have this conversation back door. But anyways, no, those are pretty. Those sound cool. I like the idea of getting airdropped some free clothing, man. That's pretty dope, man. Maybe we'll get David some airdrop clothing. My man needs it. All right, so moving on, we got the Cardano DeFi as well. So once again, this kind of gets into my narrative that I think that the markets, we're seeing the fear and greed index, which we said is up 56, up from 50. So it's getting from the neutral to the greed zone, which more or less tracks the interest and the transactions and the community's engagement in crypto, and particularly in Bitcoin and that metric. But I think that the layer one ecosystems are getting people back in using it for what it was designed for utility, for us to move value, not just send transactions as far as sending someone money or speculating on price. But hey, there's a lot of cool iterations that we're using nowadays. And Cardano DeFi, it launched a little late. So if you remember, Cardano and smart contracts were coming out really on the tail end of the bull market, which it didn't really facilitate the throughput. It didn't really have all the dApps built out to have a thriving DeFi space, at least during the bull market. And so a lot of this was built out during the bear market. And now we're seeing that not only is Cardano building in the bear market in the same way that the best projects are, DeFi is taking off. And we have here Cardano DeFi takes off as ADA-backed stablecoin JED. The D is silent in case you didn't know. Unlocks opportunities input, and this is through Input Output Global. So that's their parent company here. Now, Cardano's ADA decentralized finance ecosystem is evolving rapidly on the back of recent developments, according to ETH Rivals developers. I don't know why they got to put that in there. But anyways, growing rapidly. In a new update, Cardano developer IOG says that the introduction of the ADA-backed stablecoin JED has helped the DeFi ecosystem expand greatly as of late. Now, I got a couple things working here. JED was created on the Cody platform. If you're not familiar with Cody, they do offer some credit card, some like check card services into crypto. They are most well known to be partnered with Cardano. They actually have a pretty interesting project. I think they're outside the top 150. So if you're looking for a DeFi play outside the top 100, maybe something to take a look at. Now, the Cody network operates the JED coin and working with other blockchains, writing smart contracts in Plutus, handling more tasks and a more resilient Cardano network are all the stages in development of a finance system that can be used by anyone, anywhere. Another piece of decentralized finance jigsaw was added when JED, a stablecoin on Cardano, went live on the end of January. Within a day, JED attracted 27 million ADA in backing and was available on exchanges such as MinSwap and others as well. Now there's 6 ADA backed for each JED stablecoin, by the way, as far as the reserves. IOG also says that Hydra, which is the firm describes as a family of layer 2 protocols described to make Cardano more stable or scalable. Now, we had a Cardano dev in studio last week, and he kind of clarified what the Hydra was offering. So Hydra is pretty comparable to like the Lightning Network on Bitcoin. However, it is operated, or it is written into the Cardano, into their main chain. So it's not completely separate and built off somewhere else, but the transactions are processed in a batch form as well. So they can do like 10,000 transactions, and batch them all into one block, or throw one transaction into one block. They can aggregate 10,000, which gives it a lot of scaling opportunities. Not to mention, this is very beneficial when it comes to NFTs, because you can have 10,000 NFT tokens minted at the same time, all on one transaction. And that is similar to like we said, for the Lightning Network, you could batch 10,000 Bitcoin transactions and then just have it verified on one Bitcoin block. Same thing can be done here on Cardano. However, the Cardano blocks are done every like 30 seconds or something like that. I'm not exactly sure on the time frame, but very scalable is where we're getting at. And DeFi seems to be taking off. Pretty bullish for the Cardano homers here. What do you think about DeFi in general, Forrest? I know you like Cardano's value and its price history in the bear markets, and the fact that it has pretty strong community. I like the technology. I like the fact that their DeFi, they're targeting the unbanked. And so they have a lot of offices in the African nations, a lot of partnerships with, I think they have one with the Ministry of Finance with Kenya, a handful of other countries as well. And there's been a lack of banking services to the main public in a lot of these countries. Cardano is getting in there. I have been very vocal on the best sector to invest in crypto being DeFi. That is why cryptocurrency was built, and I think that's what it does best. I think everything else has potential. It has good opportunity for returns, but I think its shining use case is DeFi. So for me, I'm always going to hedge my investments heavily in the DeFi sector, Cardano being one of my favorites. What do you think about DeFi in general? And is there any DeFi projects you're looking at? Is this Cardano story getting you bullish on the ADA token?
Yeah. So a lot of questions there. I'll try to take them one at a time. So yeah, bullish on Cardano, especially in a bull market, especially when this will be the first bull market, or assuming we have another bull market. I think that's a pretty safe assumption. But next bull market we do have, I think it'll be the first one there where Cardano's actually like usable, right? Cardano kind of was a super top performer from its low to its high last bull market. But the actual network itself didn't have smart contracts and DeFi or a stable coin until very recently. So the fact that we'll get to have a bull market where Cardano can see its TVL within its DeFi ecosystem actually flourish, I think is very bullish. DeFi in general, I'm bullish on, but you do have to be careful because it's all about liquidity, and you have like liquidity that flows from whatever the latest protocol is with the highest yields to the next one. And as soon as the yields drop over here, the liquidity flows to another place. And you have all these different chains now, especially in the Ethereum DeFi ecosystem, where you have a lot of fractured liquidity. You have a lot of liquidity on Polygon, you've got some on Binance Smart Chain, you've got some on the layer 2s like Arbitrum and Optimism. And without very concentrated liquidity, it's difficult to it's difficult for the space to grow. That being said, Cardano's kind of in its own. It's a double-edged sword because it's not seeing huge inflows from like Arbitrum sees large inflows directly from Ethereum. It taps into the liquidity of Ethereum, which is has its own pros and cons. But Cardano's kind of developing its own DeFi ecosystem, separate in a way, isolated from all these other different layer 2s and these other chains. So like the TVL that's on Cardano is it's on Cardano. And I like the fact that they're also going after these underserved markets and actually building out specific, use cases and onboarding people into the Cardano DeFi ecosystem. Whereas Ethereum DeFi and Arbitrum DeFi and is, don't get me wrong, I'm bullish on Ethereum, I'm bullish on layer twos, I'm bullish on DeFi over on Ethereum as well. But it's kind of like DeFi for the degens. It's DeFi for it's not permissioned. Like anybody can go in and take out a loan on Aave. Anybody can go in and trade on Uniswap or whatever, which is phenomenal. But those DeFi opportunities, it kind of that, like I was saying, the liquidity is very fractured. But if you're actually going in and you're onboarding for a specific use case, such as underbanked people in an African country, that's TVL that's very sticky and probably not going to be bridged over to the latest layer 2 chain or bridged over to the Ethereum EVM ecosystem. So I like that as well. So I mean, Cardano definitely suffers in a bear market, but that just gives you a better entry for the next bull market. And the last 2 bull markets, it's been a top performing coin. And it's one of the few coins that has had the staying power in the top 10 to 15 cryptocurrencies at any given time for a very extended long period of time. If you go back to 2016, 2015, even 2018, right, the top 10 cryptocurrencies looks very different. A lot of those top 10 fall out, but Cardano has been steady and stable within that top 10 for a very long period of time. And sometimes it bounces around, 10, 11 or whatever, but top 15 or so. Very, very, I think very highly of Cardano, especially in a bull market scenario.
Right. Well, I think it's time to open up the club. Rocco, what do you think? You open up the club? Yeah, so if you're new here, first of all, if you're new, say hello so we can drop an hola back at you. We've been around for a little over a year. We're going on 2 years in November. So a year ago, we went to Bitcoin Miami. We had less than 1,000 subscribers. And we hit 1,000 subscribers while we were down there. And we're almost a full 10x away from there in a year later. So hopefully we get another 10x within the next year. But we do something fun here. We like to celebrate milestones. And we don't on the daily get over 300 viewers. So we got to 350 today. So I'd like to celebrate and thank you guys for the support. If you're new here, say hello. So we can drop an hola at you. I do see a couple new people as well. We got Kansas, Stacker, Jeff P, Abu, Syndemic Love, Joe Man, Degen Hexakin, Retail Crypto News, Nico. We have 2 Nicos in the chat today. And then we also have Chris Crypto, Brett Headley, Zach Laney, and NSLHD as well. So to all of you, hola! Welcome to Sin City Crypto. Yeah, so we celebrate new milestones and we do what Vegas does best. We open up the nightclub, play a little music. No David today, but we replaced him with a nice thumbs up. Anyways, Rocco, let's get some music. Is your boy going to Miami? Going to Miami and I gotta start working on hitting the clubs. Miami's got the nicest clubs. All right, and then of course we got David's amazing dance moves. Do you have David's camera pulled up by chance? Oh, there it is. There
right there. Look at that. Wow.
Yeah.
Actually moves too fast for the camera.
Looks a lot better today than he normally
30
does.
frames per second.
Yeah. Anyways, I just want to give a shout out to the viewers. Thanks for hanging out with us. I will be in Miami for the rest of the week. So you'll get both Forrest and David for the rest of the week. Big shout out to Forrest. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for holding down the fort while I'm in Miami. Always much appreciated, true friend as well. And I will say, do you have anything you want to add? I know, or anything new going on in your ecosystem?
Same old, just pushing out plays and research reports, technical analysis on my channel and website. But just want to say thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure and an honor to come on this channel. It's been a pleasure to watch it grow. You guys have something special going on here, and I've been saying for a long time this is going to be one of the biggest YouTube channels in the space, especially when we go into the next bull market. You can already see the groundwork has been laid, and the hay is in the barn, so to speak. This channel is about to blow up and continue to grow at a really, really fast pace, and it's an honor to be a guest here with some regularity. So thank you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, we got a lot of new stuff coming on the horizon. It's just the three, in studio, it's just the three of us, me, Rocco, and David. So we got our hands full. We got this live stream thing tied down pretty well. So we're trying to squeeze a little bit more, just trying to give you more, especially for the members as well. And do also want to give a shout out to our channel sponsor as well. We have Cam's Blue Wire Tech. And Cam's Blue Wire Tech is a technology that provides your business with scalable IT solutions so you can focus on new revenue streams for your business. Go check them out at bluewiretech.com. And if you're going to be in Miami, please hit us with a DM on our Twitter. If you're going to be at Bitcoin Miami, or if you're in the area, you want to link up, grab some lunch or something, just send me a DM on the Sin City Crypto 1 on the Twitter handle. And have you heard our new outro song? We have Cassius made us a new outro. It's pretty dope.
I don't think I've heard it.
Yeah, yesterday was our first day. So without further ado, we're gonna wrap this thing up and sign it off with our new outro song. So without further ado, Rocco, is this how it works? All right, thanks.
Sin City Crypto, Cassius Cuvée. Yeah. Sin City Crypto, everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Name the coin, it's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy a dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming hola till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't